So what does POWDERY mean in terms of road safety? Well, it's an acronym to help you remember something. So let's go through it. You might find the last one very interesting. So pre-drive checks, in practical terms, involve some checks that you should do, some of which should be done every time you get in the vehicle, some of which will be done on an intermediate basis, maybe weekly, maybe monthly, and some that most people probably will leave until the car actually gets serviced. But let's go through them. Like I say, POWDERY is an acronym. So let's go through each letter of the acronym. So P originally was for petrol, because most vehicles at the time when POWDERY was first mentioned were petrol-driven vehicles. But now, of course, we have diesel and electric. And quite fortunately, really, P can now be changed to propellant. So the primary check here is that you've got enough propellant, whichever that may be, petrol, diesel, electric, for the journey you're about to undertake. Now, if you've got sufficient fuel or sufficient charge, that's great. If you've got an electric powered vehicle, then this may require you to actually plan your journey in a little bit more detail than for petrol and diesel vehicles, because electric charging infrastructure is not as prevalent in the UK as petrol stations are, where you can get obviously petrol and diesel. So plan your journey and make sure that you have enough propellant for the journey you're about to undertake. And of course, for that check, you need to do that every time you get into the vehicle. O stands for oil. Now, the optimal time to inspect your oil is when the engine has cooled down, having been turned off for a minimum of 10 minutes. The vehicle should be on the level, and when it's cool, you lift the bonnet, locate the dipstick, which is housed in a tube situated by the side of the engine block generally. You carefully remove the dipstick, and with a clean cloth or piece of paper, clean the actual dipstick. Once the dipstick's clean, replace it back into the tube, and then withdraw it again and measure the level of oil that's actually in the engine. There will be an indication on the dipstick as to where the level should be. If it's too low, then obviously you need to top it up. Hopefully it's not too high. So most people will actually leave this check until the car is serviced, but really you should be looking at doing this probably once a month. Now, a caveat on some more modern vehicles, like the vehicle I drive, it doesn't have a dipstick. The actual oil level is monitored electronically by a sensor. So if your car is of that type, then you will get a warning if the oil goes low, but you should check it electronically. Again, the same applies. You have to have the vehicle running sometimes to actually get that check to work, because the sensor does need electricity. Okay, so moving on to W. So W is for water, and it refers to the water to top up your water reservoir. And this is obviously used to clean your windscreen and your rear screen if you have a wiper on your rear screen. In some vehicles, that water will also be used to clean your headlights. Be aware though that on some vehicles there is a separate reservoir for the windscreen and a separate one for the rear screen as well. So in the summer months, you can use screen wash. You can buy it actually made up, or you can buy it in a concentrate format. If it's a made up one, you can just use that straight into the reservoir. If it's a concentrate one, then you can dilute that with actual ordinary water. In the summer, it's really a mixture for cleaning insects and any other sort of debris that comes onto your windscreen. In the winter, you really need to use a concentrate with some antifreeze in. And the recommended mix is 50% concentrate to 50% ordinary water. And that actually will hopefully stop the water becoming ice in the reservoir and allowing you to actually clean your screen. Now, it should be said that not having sufficient water in your reservoir is actually illegal, and if you're found by a police officer to be unable to clear your windscreen, you can get up to £100 fine. So remember that you need to check this on a regular basis. In the summer, depending on how much you're using your windscreen washers, monthly. In the winter time, maybe even weekly, but certainly not longer than monthly. It's also worth mentioning that you shouldn't use detergent as a windscreen wiper cleaner, because putting that into your windscreen bottle will actually leave a soapy, filmy layer on the windscreen, which may obscure your view. So please don't use ordinary detergent. Use the proper stuff that you can buy in motoring stores or online. D is for damage, and in this area you need to check the vehicle for anything that would compromise the safety of either the driver, yourself generally, or other road users. Now, some things to check in this area are bulges and cuts in your tyres, especially to the sidewalls of tyres, because that can actually cause the tyre to blow out, and at high speed that is definitely something that you don't want to happen. You need to check the tyres have the legal minimum depth, which is 1.6 millimeters in the UK. I will show you how to check the depth of the tyre, and that 1.6 millimeters of tread needs to be across the central 3/4 of the tyre and in its complete circumference. Now, my recommendation would be actually to change your tyres when they get down to 3 millimeters, because after 3 millimeters they don't disperse water as well as they should do. So like I say, the legal minimum is 1.6, but I'd think about getting your tyres changed once the actual depth reaches 3 millimeters. Again, something else that you can check for is broken light fittings, non-working bulbs, and any obvious bodywork damage that would compromise the safety of the vehicle. So any sort of trim that is loose that could actually come off and cause damage either to your vehicle or to other road users. Okay, E is for electrics. The electric element of the pre-drive check in this vehicle covers all electronic elements within the vehicle, such as the auxiliary warning lights, indicators on the dashboard, but it also involves checking the headlights, side lights, parking lights, brake lights, indicators, and the lights that light up your rear number plate. There are a few ways of checking external lights and indicators, but it's preferable if you get someone to actually help you with this, so that you can actually sit in the vehicle, operate the controls, and that other person can tell you whether they're working or not. Again, you can do this weekly or you can do it monthly, but you should do it on a regular basis. For some vehicles, you will be indicated by one of your auxiliary warning lights if a bulb has gone out, but in most vehicles that's not the case. R is for rubber. Now, while this may seem that I'm talking about tyres again, which I am, it's also important to check your windscreen wipers for both the main windscreen, and if you've got one on the rear windscreen, then check it on the rear windscreen as well. Worn rubbers on windscreen wipers can not only lead to annoying noise, but also, and more importantly, mean that they would be unable to clear the windscreen water when it rains, and therefore it might impair your view. And if it impairs your view, then obviously you won't have good perception of what's in front of you or behind you. This is obviously a very important safety issue, and therefore you should check your wiper blades on a frequent basis. Now you're looking here for blades that are noisy, blades that are perished, the rubber's perished, and anything that's actually not clearing the windscreen effectively. So it should become obvious when windscreen wipers are not becoming very effective, but I would check them at least once a month. Now, I said at the beginning of this video that the last one was going to be really interesting, and it is, and the Y stands for you. So this is a critical safety factor and addresses not only physical and mental well-being, but also psychological conditioning for driving. So from a physical well-being perspective, you need to assess whether you are in a fit state to drive. And you need to take that into account along with any medical conditions, which could range from a simple cold to medications that you're taking for other medical reasons. The important factor here is to assess your ability to react to conditions in the road and events that may occur during your drive. In addition, and this is one that's talked about quite often, the consumption of alcohol, and obviously this related to speed are where a lot of accidents actually occur. There are many articles on consumption of alcohol by the body and warning of driving the morning after the night before. So I'm not going to go through those, but it is a very important consideration to make sure that you're fit for driving. And of course you should assess this every time you get in your vehicle, because it's better to arrive at a destination late than not to arrive at all. And some of the decisions that you make on the road will be of paramount importance to both yourself and other road users. So each time you get in the vehicle, just make an assessment of how you feel. Are you angry? Have you had upsetting news? Are you in a position where you might get into a road rage incident? It's important to assess that and take that into account, because assessing that at the beginning of the drive will change your actual perception during the drive, and that will make your drive a safer thing for you and other road users. We found that use of POWDERY, the acronym, propellant, oil, water, damage, electric, rubber, and you, useful, something you can remember each time you get in the car. If you did find it useful, give me a like, please. And if you want to be notified of the future safety advanced driving technique videos, then please subscribe to the channel.